Are we good? Let's call the meeting to order at 6:01. Natalie, would you call the roll, please?
Chairperson Phil Goldstein.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Marty Jose. Commissioner Lisa Bard.
Here.
Commissioner Eric Westland.
Here.
Commissioner Christina Bigley. Alternate Robert Oxmacher.
Present.
Alternate Tom Wood.
Thank you. Commissioners, staff, any amendments to the agenda? No. Okay. Determination of alternate voting. Robert, you'll definitely vote. If Tom shows up, it's all right. Staff, have him come up and he would vote as well, obviously, because we have 2 vacancies tonight. Public comment. This is an opportunity for anybody who wishes to speak on anything that is not on the agenda. Is there anybody signed up, Natalie, to speak on anything not on the agenda? Nope. Okay, we'll close the general public comment. There is public hearing on the item 6A under business. Kevin, that's the only thing that there's public comment. On what? On all of them. Okay, very good. Okay, I didn't see it on the agenda. All right, so there will be an opportunity to speak on anything that is on the agenda when we get to those items. Consent agenda consists only of approval of the September 7th, 2021 meeting minutes. Commissioners, any additions or corrections to the minutes? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye of approval of the consent agenda.
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda is approved 4-0. Business item 6A, Saratoga Falls third filing final plat. Kevin, I believe that's you.
That would be me. Thank you, Chairperson. Just got to get the lovely technology working here. All right, you all good? There we go. All right. So thank you, Chairperson. As you mentioned, this is the Saratoga Falls third filing final plat. This is what we consider the east half of the Saratoga Falls property. The owner is Kitchell Lake Filing 3 LLC, represented tonight by Mr. Jim Righeimer. The applicant is TB Group, represented tonight by Kristen Turner. The property is zoned R2 single family residential, and this final plat proposal is for 250 single family detached lots. And then this also includes a potential use for a Poudre School District Elementary School site on 16 acres, kind of generally right in the middle of this site. This plan provides for pocket parks, a community clubhouse and park, and then 43% of the site is dedicated for open space, and that does not include the school site, because if the school site does develop, then it's not considered open space. So the rest of the site is, it does have 43% open space. This development also is providing a future community trail, which is in alignment with our Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails plan. The density for this plat is 1.41 dwelling units per acre. And then as per section 6.5 of the land use code, all lots that back to open space are eligible for a side yard setback reduction from 7 feet to 5 feet. And all of the lots in this subdivision do back to open space. The minimum lot size for these lots are roughly 6,400 square feet, and then the max is just over 36,000 square feet. Those lots are generally on the south side of the new alignment of Prospect Road, but the average lot size is approximately 8,000 square feet in size. One thing to note is that this final plat went through town council earlier this year. There were 4 conditions of approval that town council put on that preliminary plat. You were actually a part of one of those, which is the eastern or the westerly road that runs north-south. That road shifted 20 feet to the west to provide some additional buffering to Kitchell Lake. And then the other 3 conditions were generally related to a court case decision that was between this development and an adjacent property owner. And staff has felt that the applicant has met those conditions for this final plat. With that, this final plat is in conformance with the approved preliminary plat and those conditions set forth by council. It is compliant with the land use code, and with that, I will turn it over to Kristen for a presentation.
All right, can you guys hear me?
We can.
I always
Thanks,
have to bring
Kristen.
the mic way down when I come up. Kevin, will this work for me, or will you
Yep,
be?
it should.
Okay.
Just point in
So
my
just
direction.
Right and left, or the red one?
Right and left.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, thank you very much for being here to hear about Saratoga Falls tonight. You guys are very familiar with this since we've been through the process for sketch and for preliminary, so likely this will be a project that looks very familiar to you. My name is Kristen Turner. I'm with TB Group, and we've been working on the planning, and we do have our full team here today. So if questions come up, we've got our civil, traffic, developer, anyone you might want to speak with. So just keep that in mind as you're hearing a little bit more about the project. So very quickly, just to get you oriented in case you weren't sure where this was, our southern boundary to the site is Prospect Road. We've got County Road 3 to the east and Main Street to the west. So you can see it sitting right there in the center, the blue blob. It works. Perfect. Thank you, Kevin. And here is the site. So if you have seen this before, you will see that it looks exactly like it did before. As Kevin mentioned, we have 250 lots, R2 zoning. That puts us at a density of 1.4 units to the acre. You'll notice that there's a ton of open space on this plan. So there's buffers that run all the way around the perimeter of the property. Large open spaces behind all of the lots, all of our lots back to open space as well. There are no lots that are back to back. We think that's a great amenity to provide to folks. So you'll notice that here. In addition, you'll see that 16 acres that's being reserved for Pruta School District for a future elementary school site. So we are very excited if that project moves forward. We think it'll be a great addition to the community. If it doesn't, then it will be additional open space, which will also be a great amenity to this community. We've gone ahead and highlighted the trail system for you in colors just to make it a little bit easier to see. So you'll see that that Post Trail, the community trail, is running right in between second and third filing. So it's that orangey yellow line that runs kind of along the border between the bright section of the plan and the lighter section of the plan. So that'll be a connection from north to south, adding to the community's trail system. All of the trails that you see, or the dash lines that you see in red, are concrete trail systems. These are in addition to detached walks that you'll find throughout the entire community. And then finally, you'll see some purple dash lines as well, and those are our soft surface trails that are used to help provide additional connections and a different kind of surface for folks to travel on. If you look between second and third filing, you'll notice we've got about 9 connection points just between second and third filing, so very well connected. We're really focusing on the pedestrian experience here, and overall we have over 18,000 linear feet of trails just in third filing. So that comes out to be about 3.5 miles. If you add on second filing and first filing, you can just bump it up from there, and it's a really great network for the folks that'll live in this community, as well as the rest of town. All right, so a quick look at our parks. Up in the top right corner, you'll see kind of a vicinity map so that you know that where we're looking. This is one of our pocket parks. So we've added turf fields so that we've got a place for folks to throw the Frisbee, kick the soccer ball around, a picnic shelter with tables and grills, and some native planting as well. So a little trail area to walk through there. Another one of our pocket parks, which is kind of centrally located. There's a little tot lot play area here, planting area, seating area, and again, another turf area. And this one is connected to that concrete trail that'll run all the way around the lake. And then this is our largest park that we have for the community. It's the neighborhood park. We really wanted to take advantage of the wetlands feature here on site and kind of enhance it and celebrate it. So you'll see there's a trail system and that wraps all the way around, and it's a mix of concrete and soft surface trails. In the top left-hand corner, you'll see we have a little play zone, and that's a natural play zone area. Really cool play equipment that looks like timbers and should really fit into the area. As you move around to the top of the plan, you'll see that we have a native garden with a bunch of different seating areas that folks can stroll through, hang out, enjoy the wetlands area. As you move down to the lower right side, you'll see that we have a shade structure with some picnic tables. And then at the bottom of the plan, you'll see that we have some amphitheater style seating. And all of this will be nicely connected and close to the school as well, should it develop, that they may be able to utilize some of that as well. And then finally, the one park that we don't have to show you yet is the one that will have the community building and the pool. And that is located on that vicinity map just up to the left a little bit. That will come through as a separate site plan in the future when we have architecture for a building and a layout for all of that. So there is one more pocket park that is part of this. It is reserved for this community and will be developed. It's just not designed at this point since it requires an additional entitlement process. And that is really the gist of my presentation today. I'll keep it short and sweet for you. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll leave it at that.
Let's see if we have anybody signed up for public comment. Nobody signed. Is anybody interested in public comment on this who did not sign up? Okay. Commissioners, questions for Kristen? I have a couple, but I'd like to hear
I had a couple
your
too.
thoughts first.
Kristen, you said that the school's not built, that remains open space. So that
Correct.
space can't be built on, developed in any other way if the school doesn't.
Correct. It will
exercise
never
their
be
option.
residential lots. It will always be open space if the school chooses to release the land.
Perfect. And then out of curiosity, soft trails are like crusher fines, gravel. What's your intended?
Typically, they're
to
crusher
implement
fines.
that? Fair enough. Thank you.
And then just add on to that, for the school district, it was part of the sketch plan approval that there was a note on there that if the school site did not actually happen, for anything to develop on that, they would have to come back through a sketch plan amendment process for that. So that was captured back at sketch
I
plan.
remember that being a
Yep.
topic, and that's why I brought it
Yep.
up, because it was a discussed issue previously. So good. Thank you.
So excuse me, and that was going to be one of my questions. So that is, and that comes back through the entire process.
Correct.
So it's within Planning Commission councils to make a recommendation to council to keep it open space.
Yes.
Or
That's
to approve it, but I know the residents were concerned that it stay that way if it didn't become a school. So
yes, it will revert to open space if the school district doesn't
Okay.
actually decide to go with that property. That's why the note on the sketch plan stated that if the current property owner developer, at the time wanted to do anything other than open space or the school district, they would have to go back through sketch plan amendment, preliminary plat, final plat.
very good. Thank you. Lisa?
Just, can you give us any appropriate resolution as far as the lawsuit that was brought in, why the town council made those contingencies upon it? Is there any concerns that you guys addressed in this plan because of that from a planning standpoint and a development standpoint would behoove us to know? It's kind of a long way to say, I mean, what can we know that is?
Yeah, there's not a lot public. Since it's an ongoing case, we're not going to share a lot of the details. However, that was ruled upon by the judge. There's an appeal in process, and but the plan has been modified and to reflect the court order. And so, from our perspective, from the town's perspective, we've reviewed it against that to a degree. We're not interpreting the court's order, but the developer has responded to those the outcome of that. And Jim, I mean, if you want to add anything to that, happy to.
You have to bring up litigation. It was a long 2 years.
Yeah.
Just to make it very clear, we won the litigation. The court came out in our ruling. The only thing that's going on right now is the Colorado Supreme Court took the appeal up for the legal fees. As the attorney, as the judge said in the case, in the 20 years he's been a judge, he's only awarded legal fees to the winning side 3 times because there's no contract for having it. This would be his 4th. It was just pretty outrageous case. It went on and on and on. What we did was not only we put in our agreement, but we brought an outside third-party engineer to come in and said, yes, our agreement not only follows what our engineer says is the court order, but also a third party said that that's what the court order is. So it's basically done. We're just in court right now to get our legal fees.
Okay. So you did not have to modify the plan or your development plans because of that in any way that,
No. And they, we constantly get letters from the attorney making all these comments that he made in front of the judge that they said no to, and start all over again and send them off to, city councils and planning commissions and stuff. But, we're beyond it. It's behind us. We're excited. My youngest is a sophomore in high school. I can't move her school, but my lot is right up on the peninsula there. We can't wait to get moved in.
and so there's nothing in that litigation, you say it's closed, so there's nothing that will affect and change what we're seeing today.
No, nothing at all.
including the final disposition on the legal fees.
Yeah, well,
That was a question.
yeah, I mean, we either get them, we'll get them or we're not. They appealed the legal fees. I actually watched the case. They have it online, the Supreme Court. And the question the judges asked were, and again, why should they not get legal fees after this outrageous case was brought? So we expect to be there.
And then to add on to that, as Mr. Righeimer stated, condition 4 was that there was basically a third-party engineering opinion that the final plat is consistent with that court ruling, which that they had done, they had submitted, and our engineering had reviewed that and concurred that what they have provided, the third-party engineer provided, was sufficient to state that they are meeting the court rulings.
Anything else? Robert, anything? Nothing?
Thank you. Question?
The only question, well, just a general question. I do see, again, from the time that you modified this to have the lots on the other side of Prospect Road, which I thought was a good thing. These are much larger lots, right?
Correct.
So kind of its own enclave with its own
Yeah.
cachet, if you will. Was there not, Kristen, was there any issue down there or something, drainage or anything? I seem to remember something. Obviously, if there was anything, you've worked it out, but I can't remember. It's been quite a while. Was there any issues about that particular property, other than the fact that you had to cross the road?
Yeah, that particular property, if you look at it, is raised high. Where you're looking to the east is where the drainage of the water that comes from our lake goes through the wetlands and then drains into Deadman's. So it's a complete system of the water drains all the way through, but it doesn't bother those 9 lots. They're raised up high.
I knew there was something
Yeah.
that I just,
There are also properties to the south and I will call it utilities at Dead Man Lake that there will be providing access easements to with this. So that is part of this as well.
okay. Commissioners, anything else on item 6A, Saratoga Falls third filing, final plat? Okay. Do I have a motion? Staff, anything else? I'm sorry. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve item 6A, Saratoga Falls third filing, final plat? Motion to approve. A second?
I'd second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries on 4-0 vote. Thank you. Item 6B, Resolution 1, Series 2021, a resolution for the annexations for property known as Connell to the town of Timnath, located south of Sweatsville Zoo Road and west of County Road 5. Kevin, may I presume you're going to do this in 6C and perhaps even 6D all at the same time? Okay, that's what I thought here. We're all in sync. Staff, do I open 6C and D as well, or just, is it?
Yeah, you'll still have to open public hearing for all of them.
Okay,
But I just, for continuity of things, I'm gonna do them all
okay,
at once.
all right, very good.
All right, so thank you, Chairperson. So as you mentioned, this first one is actually a resolution approving the annexations known as the Connell properties to the town of Timnath. This is actually two annexations just because of meeting contiguity requirements for the 1/6 for the right of ways and all the property. They had to do two annexations. But the gist of it is the property is highlighted there in blue, south of Costco, south of Sweatsville Zoo. And then there will be a leg that kind of extends out to County Road 5, which will be the future extension of Weitzel Road. This annexation will consist of roughly 64 acres currently within Larimer County. The intent for this annexation is to develop with commercial uses. This property is designated employment and regional commercial in the comprehensive plan, and the proposed commercial uses is compatible with that comprehensive plan. This property will also go through future platting and site plan processes as they develop. And then this annexation was reviewed against the state Colorado revised statutes and is meeting all of our land use code and revised statute requirements. Part of the annexation process is to zone the property. The applicant is requesting the zoning to be regional commercial, which is consistent with that employment regional commercial designation for our comprehensive plan. This is just a rough generality of what that annexation and zoning would look like from that standpoint. The last part of this, which hopefully you all had a chance to read and we can kind of go through a little bit more and the applicant probably would like to talk on this a little bit more. Is part of this application is a plan development overlay, and they're calling the subdivision Ladera, so that's why it looks a little bit different. That's why it's called Ladera, because that's what they're intending to call it. So it's not two different things. So part of the intent of this PD overlay is to make modifications to dimensional standards of the land use code, which are part of the attached document, which I also have here, which was also in your packet. The purpose of the PD overlay is to change multiple sections of the land use code for the regional commercial zoning district. Those sections include open space, architectural materials and form, parking requirements, parking lot landscaping, tree and shrub plantings, and landscape materials are generally the topics of code sections that they are requesting to change. The reasoning for the PD overlay is to provide some more flexibility for national retailers in their site design, architecture, landscaping, and parking. Staff has reviewed the annexation, the zoning, found it in compliance with the land use code. Staff has also reviewed the PD overlay and has staff is recommending approval of the PD overlay as they have proposed it. And with that, we can kind of go through some of these if you have specific questions on them, or we can kind of go one by one. But if Grant Nelson, who is on behalf of the applicant, would like to add anything else.
Thank you, Kevin. Good evening, members of Planning Commission. Grant Nelson with Republic Investment Group. I'm here tonight with Sherry Welsh and Steve Weens with Stacklot. Sherry is my partner in the project we call Ladera, as Kevin indicated. And just appreciate you guys taking the time tonight, go through this. If you have some questions, Steve and I can answer them. If you have very detailed questions, we'll try and give you detailed answers. But as Kevin indicated, the intent with this PD overlay is to be able to not only get our first tenant to locate in the project, but to attract other future retailers to the project. This is kind of phase one of phase one. As Kevin indicated, we will be back. We're only doing a minor subdivision to make way for our first tenant. Our first tenant is Floor & Decor. We've been working with them for about a year and a half. And then any other future development, we're going to have to come back in, meet, with Kevin and Matt and the town and work through all the future subdivisions and work through a lot of the other details. So, but by background, just to give you some indication of why we're doing this, I'm 29 years into retail real estate development, done about 4 million square feet of big box anchored retail, Walmart, Costco, Lowe's, Home Depot, Kohl's, King Soopers, Safeway, Lowe's, any of them have beat me up over the years. So part of the scars that I carry have been carried forward into this document. And while some of them are painful, the true idea is to make sure that we have a zoning document that allows us to go to those tenants and market the property and get them to come land in Timnath. Timnath's a great place to do business that other retailers that have landed here are just ecstatic about it. And we're starting to get a lot of momentum right now. We have some other retailers very interested in Timnath that I think will be great for the community if we can land them. So again, I'm here tonight with Steve and Sherry. If you have questions, please feel free to ask them. Hopefully we can answer them and bring some rationale to what we put in this document. Thank you.
Thanks, Grant. Let's open public hearing, close public hearing if we could, and we can do that simultaneously in all three, or do I need to? Okay.
You'll need to at least announce it for all three.
Okay, so we're announcing, before we bring it up here for any questions, we'll announce a public hearing on item 6B, Resolution 1, Series 21. I presume nobody signed up for public hearing, so we'll close that public hearing. We open public hearing on the item 6C, the zoning map amendment, and we close public hearing, and we open and then close public hearing on item 6D, Ladera Plan Development Overlay Amendment. So with that, let me bring it up here to commissioners' questions. Lisa? Okay.
I just want to know the highlights or lowlights of the things they're asking to change, i.e. parking, whatever. And you know, we don't get in the weeds 100%, but what are the
So with parking, they are actually requesting to increase parking. So that is one of their requests. Right now for, it's kind of the last thing for majority of our, resident or wholesale use, which is what generally Florida Core would fall under. Our requirement is 1 per 1,000. They're requesting 4 per 1,000. So they are requesting significant increases on some parking to provide that ample parking. A majority of the landscaping requirement is generally on plant type. Landscaping of per square foot, just kind of having some relax on that, some species of trees and then grasses, changing up some of those. They are requesting the overall open space being reduced from 25% to 20% with some of these. That is just the minimum for most the big box stores. The other things that they are generally requesting are architectural changes, but the architectural changes for a majority of it is going to be for big box, larger than 10,000 square feet. If you see with Costco, some of those are requirement of basically a change in basically your massing, having some type of architectural change, whether at 2 feet in depth, materials or something like that. 1 per 50 feet is a big task for, a 300, 400 foot long building. So they are requesting that be reduced to be 1 per 75 foot to allow for some of those big box retailers to have some flexibility in their architecture. And then some of the materials, they're generally keeping the materials just kind of adding in some tilt-up concrete construction, some items like that. So generally from a landscaping standpoint, it is just more of that materials and then kind of the changing of species and the reduction. And then it's more materials and massing for the architecture.
typical maybe of other big box in Timnath?
Correct.
It'll still provide a attractive property.
Correct.
Fits
Yep.
with the town.
Yep. A lot of these actually are kind of similar to what Costco looks like now. A lot of these requirements are similar to that. So it'd be kind of in a sense thinking of seeing another Costco.
Perfect. Thanks, Kevin. That's all.
Robert?
I have a couple of questions. My first is, obviously there's close proximity to the Pruder River. Has there been anything specific thought about in this in terms of the floodplain and the impacts that this may have in the surrounding areas and mitigation to that effect?
As Grant will probably say, we've been looking at floodplain with them quite a bit. There are requirements that they have to go through for floodplain. Don might want to chime in on this one a little bit more. But that is one thing that you'll see as we kind of go through the platting process with them. The only part right now that would touch potentially the floodplain is the extension of Whitesville down to County Road 5. The rest of this first phase, as Grant had called it, for this first annexation is generally out of the floodplain. So it would be future subsequent annexations and development that would have that impact. But we're working with them closely on those regulations and design. And Don, I don't know if you or Grant want to add anything else.
We've got a CLOMAR in process. FEMA has just recently given its first comments to the CLOMAR, the conditional letter of map revision. And I believe the comments came back. They were kind of not as many as we thought we'd have. And we think it will progress. I believe Don, once we annex, will be the floodplain administrator. So I will stop babbling about something I don't know a lot about and let the guy who actually knows something talk. So.
Yeah, we're on top of that and following the process through FEMA, and it really, for this phase, it like Kevin said, it is a very minimal part of this phase. It'll be more material in the next phases.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of thought given to it by lots of different parties. So it dictates, what we can develop and how we can develop it. So it's been a really interactive process.
Glad we're thinking about that. And I know we're early in this development, but I think it's important to keep these kind of things on the radar all the way through. My next question is with respect to open space. Of course, recently the town conducted a survey and asked the residents in terms of various priorities, and certainly open space and things like trails, were things that the community has identified as being important. In reducing the open space from 25% to 20%, what are we offering kind of in exchange for the community in this reduction?
Sure. So the larger development that the Connell family owns is 240 acres. Runs all the way from Costco down to Hector. Of the 240, over 100 acres will be open space. It will be about 60 acres on the north and 40 acres on the south. The south includes a proposed lake, about a 35-acre lake. Is that about right? And around that lake, we plan to have trails and really have it be interactive. It's in a future annexation, so I don't want to say too much about it without having staff give their presentation on it. But they're the 20 to 25% is specific to big boxes. So I think Costco is 15% because we just ran out of land. And 20% is in my experience and Steve's experience about what we get in big box. Steve and I met years ago. He's a landscape architect and was doing fancy projects. I think he both likes me and dislikes me for getting him a job with another engineer where he did Walmarts, and he can speak more to the Walmarts that he did, but 20% is a high end on the big box. Like Kevin indicated, we have maintained the 25% for the smaller retail, for the more community retail, and the big box, if you go to them at 25%, you just lose a lot of usable land for landscape, to be just blunt about it. So.
Okay, I appreciate that. Just to comment, I appreciate the future plans in terms of open space, but really there's nothing in improving this that those future plans we have any way to hold them accountable to. Is that correct?
So what you're approving tonight is for just what's inside that boundary. So those future things would have their own PD overlay, and they'll have their own process. And so you'll see another PD overlay that may look very similar to this one, but you'll have another bite at the apple, so to speak.
And Kevin, maybe go to the map. I know we don't have much. Great. The annexation map. I believe there's 66, is that right, Kevin?
not on them.
66 acres in this first annexation.
Yeah, that's one. that's
About
an
45
existing-
of
that's
which
the
are
existing
usable.
one, I think.
The remaining is going to be in the floodplain that we discussed previously. And so, roughly 20 acres will be, open space or non-usable real estate, if that helps you. So. There you go. That's a better one.
Yeah, that lake is a whole pond, actually. That has to move for Weitzel to move to extend south. So that's not the one that Grant was mentioning that will be there. That actually has to relocate to kind of to the northeast a little bit. And that's where Weitzel will extend through from that.
So that pond then obviously is man-made, it was put there. So to relocate it is just, is it a catch? A retention?
Detention pond.
What kind of a pond is it?
Yeah, what is the function of that?
It's, okay, right now, it's more, it kind of services as two or three different things. It's a sump, it's part of a water right that they have associated with the property. It does not function as a storm drainage facility for this property at all. It currently has a temporary use in terms of the Costco storm drainage, but it will move will move along with the pond and other things as it progresses.
And where will the pond go?
This pond's going to go, like Kevin said, to the east and north a little bit. And it's probably going to shrink, I think. I haven't seen the final grading plan for that pond, but I expect it to be a little smaller.
Is it going to stay within this property or is it going to
Yes.
go outside?
No, it'll stay within this property.
And is it going to function as just, is it going to have any amenities? Like can people walk around the pond or is it going to be isolated and just non?
I'm sure to the extent they can, it will be an amenity. But like I said, I believe it's going to be quite a bit smaller than what it is now.
Yeah, I think it's slightly smaller, but yes, we hope to make it an amenity. And the lots that will back up against it, hopefully will have, it will add as an amenity to it.
Correct.
And yet to expand, when we did the Costco, Sherry and her family were gracious enough to let us use this property as some of our detention overflow for the Costco. So I think it uses some portion of the freeboard to do so today. And then in the future, when we build the new detention facility, all of that will be transferred over to the east and north a little bit. So.
Robert, do you have another question? I take it.
I do. And this is, again, forward thinking with respect to traffic. The extension of Weitzel to County Road 5, I think is exciting and has some, potential to really mitigate some of the traffic issues there. I look back to another development in our community north of Harmony where a big box came in there. And I think there may have been pressure to, let's get this big box in here. We got the big box in there, and then a decade later, the community has a lot of concerns about the traffic flow in that area. And sometimes the messaging has been, well, that was on the developer, or that was on the big box or whatever, not on our process. And so as we look at this, I guess I'm curious, where are we at in terms of process and in terms of code to ensure that our traffic flow through this commercial area doesn't run into some of the frustrations that community members have expressed north of Harmony?
Okay, so we are very much aware of that particular situation, and we've had a lot of conversation with respect to the traffic impact study associated with this property, both for this phase and possibly future phases. And so I don't think Grant will want to go through the kind of conversations we've had with this traffic engineer, but we've gone back and forth many times, and we've got it to a point where we're comfortable where we're at now. It took a while to get there, but we're there.
Appreciate that.
Sure.
Explain a little.
Well, no, I'm comfortable that they've met criteria. They've met criteria for the traffic for this phase of the project with an eye for the future. And so we're looking, they've given us a master plan for the entire site. And so the traffic study was for this site and a assumption of what the rest of the site was going to contribute. So we've got both the right of way for Whitesell all the way to County Road 5 and a design that is complementary for what's going on and with what is going to, it will take care of the future traffic that we're expecting now. It'll get looked at each time these phases come in, and if there are any changes to what the projected uses and volumes of traffic are, we'll be dealing with it.
Meaning it's changeable?
Well, I mean, if this master plan comes through and is unchanged, it'll be the first one I've ever seen that happens to. So I expect some changes, and I expect it to be, more. I expect it to be within the, let's say, the parameters of what we've set. So we try to be conservative. We try to get them to be conservative with the amount of traffic, so that as we move forward, we have some flexibility.
The challenge that the planning commission has is that you're not seeing all the big picture. So you're just seeing an annexation, you're seeing a PD overlay, you're seeing a zoning. You don't have that bigger context in front of you. So appreciate the comments that you're bringing forward. There'll be more information coming, more detailed information coming related to traffic, related to the things, a lot of the things you're asking questions about. The PD overlay it is a zoning action, so it will set in motion the standards and requirements that the developments that happen within that teal space will have to adhere to. So appreciate the comments you're having, because those are part and parcel. You don't have the context, but you're trying to make a decision on something that you don't have the context to. So it is a challenging position to be in. Staff, as Don mentioned and Kevin's mentioned, we've reviewed this PD overlay in great detail. We reviewed the traffic study in great detail. We know the north side of Harmony Road situation, and the reason for this push to get Whitesell through is we don't want to have another one of those happening. So the frontage road was taken away essentially, or was put in place it was CDOT's right of way. So they building and widening the highway, which removed the frontage road, which removed that secondary relief access point. So the Whitesell Road extension is critical for this project to be successful. So we're all working towards that end, and that's why it kind of looks the way it does today.
Yeah, to be clear, we're not, from a traffic standpoint, we are surely not looking at this in a vacuum. Vacuum meaning just this phase one. And so we're being very, I'm going to say, diligent about the traffic impacts of this project.
Robert, did you get all your questions?
Great. No, and I appreciate the attention to that detail. I also know that, since things on North of Harmony developed, we've had a new comprehensive plan. I know we've had some code revisions. And my hope is that some of that process and this process will assist this project in being successful.
Anything else? Lisa, I think you had some others.
So I understand what you're saying about the context and the future plan, but you're asking us to look at something without having the bigger picture. And you're asking us to make a decision without having the knowledge that you all have. Can you share with us a little bit about the vision and the bigger picture of the rest of this, so that we have the same knowledge that you guys do? I don't expect specifics, but at least some idea of what you envision for the entire project.
Yeah, I think that's exactly. I mean, Grant, if you don't mind
Absolutely.
walking through kind of
Sure.
the global. I mean, without lots of detail, but I mean
Right.
the global picture.
Yeah, and this, it's Don said it right. It's hard because we're trying to ask you for a specific decision, and we know you don't have all the information.
Right.
At the same time, we don't want to give you information that might be,
Right.
paint a rosy picture and then come back in 6 months and say, oh, no, never mind. We didn't want to do that. So
Big picture, conceptualize, what is the
sure.
vision for all of it, so that we understand how this fits?
sure. And Kevin, I don't know if you have anything that you can put up on the screen. I mean, the picture you're seeing there is the first phase of the first phase, as I said. And inclusive within this first phase is 120 feet of right of way that will be annexed and dedicated from us to the town to install Weitzel. The first phase of this includes floor and decor. It's a 7.9 acre site that will locate directly south of Costco, and you'll see that coming to you, assume in the next couple of weeks. We just got comments back from the town today, and they got us comments back quickly. Thank you. So you'll be able to see the detail on that. The remainder of everything south, so if you can imagine a 80,000 square foot box directly south of Costco, that is floor and decor. Beyond that, we don't have any other users. We are talking to some other users for phase one, but nothing is in stone. Nothing even has a letter of intent attached to it. So directly south of Costco would be about 60 acres of retail that will go down to where you can see today is the asphalt batch plant that Connell operates. Where the asphalt batch plant is, we will construct the lake that we talked about earlier. Along the lake, we'll have lakeside development, hotels, hospitality, mixed use, retail, hopefully residential above retail or office above retail, 5 or 6 story buildings. On the east side of the lake, we actually have a letter of intent with a large fitness user to build a 108,000 square foot facility that would be in 2024, 2025 when we can annex that. Then going to the east side of Weitzel, we envision that to be mixed use as well. So it could have retail, could have residential, could have office. As Matt indicated, we will be back in front of you with some other PD overlays explaining what we're trying to do once we know more. And I apologize that we don't know more. Floor and Decor is very adamant to get open next year. So we're working very hard to get our approvals so that we can deliver a site to them in March so they can open a year from right now. And this is the joy of 29 years of dealing with retailers. When they say jump, you say jump, and you jump and you ask how high and you jump. And so we're all jumping to try and meet their schedule. So that's why some of this feels accelerated, is to meet their timeline. But we had an accelerated timeline with Costco, and we were able to meet those as well. And can't emphasize enough how much we appreciate staff's cooperation and coordination to work through these details. So at some point we can come back and give you a full, vision of the master plan. But as and I'm sorry to be repetitive, but this is really the first phase of the first phase, is to get this kicked off for Floor and Decor, to get them open. Getting them open, getting Weitzel open will open up a whole range of possibilities. There was a great retailer that was in town last Thursday that certain members of the staff met with. It would be incredible to land here. So getting this kicked off really is beneficial to not only us as the developer, but I think that the community as a whole. So
I can come
Well,
back
that's
to you in
helpful.
a second. Grant, just for perspective,
sure.
80,000 square feet Floor and Decor. How big is Costco square feet?
Costco's 145.
Okay,
So,
this is about 2/3.
2/3 of it. Yep.
Yeah, okay, and that's, and I think you said this, where in this area is Floor and Decor to be located?
They'll go directly south of Costco.
Okay,
So Weitzel will extend through the pond. There'll be a roundabout at the corner of Costco and Sweatsville Zoo Road, between Weitzel and Sweatsville Zoo. There'll be a roundabout. Then Floor and Decor will be directly adjacent to Sweatsville Zoo on the north, Weitzel on the east. And then we have some retail pads located in front for the smaller retailers, similar to what's in front of Costco and Walmart today.
did that give you the perspective that was, I think that was what you were looking for. but, What other questions?
So does this property or this plan, or as you call it, Ladonna, does it go all the way to Ketchel?
It does, yes.
Okay.
Yep, the family owns everything all the way to Kector, all the way
Kector.
to County Road 5.
Yep.
And then south of Kector is the youth. Is that property in an easement? What is the status of that property as far as ownership goes?
That property is currently within the county, not quite sure who owns it.
Okay.
But they're a county property. They're within our growth management area. But it's not a part of this property or ownership or anything different with that. So that is That one we haven't really ever had conversations with that property owner on annexing anything like that.
It's more of a, from a planning perspective, it kind of gives a nice buffer between Timnath and what Windsor is doing, which is going. So,
And as Grant mentioned, if you've seen them now on Kector, there are some smaller ponds on the north side of Kector within this property, but with their plan, they will have a much larger pond to buffer to Kector and then to the south as well. That is part of their future master plan, which will come with future annexations and development. Those just aren't on the table at this point, just because of their batch plant that they still have to operate.
and then in everything that you've looked at with traffic and the big picture, I'm assuming that County Road 5 is going to be under consideration as well.
Very much so.
Okay.
The CYO property is owned by the Colorado Youth Outdoors Charitable Trust.
Okay, so it's a trust, it's probably in some sort of a long-term plan.
It's that whole
Yeah.
big chunk.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It just helps, like I said, gives us a little bit of context and a bigger picture of what this is a part of.
Sure. Yeah. And we have had a lot of conversations about traffic. And I know more about the Walmart intersection than I would ever care to know. And if you want to blame somebody for it, you can blame me. I'm partially responsible. So, but I would say it's a very difficult intersection from the placement of the river and the A line that was there with CDOT. And it's a very tight piece of property with the bridge and everything that was in there. So I know it's a cause of frustration for many. So for whatever it's worth, I apologize that I've added frustration. If it makes any difference, you get about 95% of the people aren't Timnath residents that come use these centers, that you get to take their tax dollars as they go back to Fort Collins or other places. So
That's why it's easy to yell at them.
Couple thoughts. As far as the parking, I'm glad that we're exceeding the recommended levels. I know it's important to council, and that's good. Did I hear you say that Costco was an exception as far as open space down to 15%?
Yeah, Costco was about that 15%. They also made up for some open space within each individual lot that was surrounding Costco, to where they picked up some additional percentage on those. But the Costco as a whole was probably about that 15% range.
Yeah. I'm, Robert, to your point, to make an exception, a minimal exception, I'm okay with that. I think it's different that making an exception on a commercial development than a residential development. My own personal preference, but I think it's within the bounds of discretion and comfortable that it'll be a satisfactory development in keeping with the rest of Timnath. So I'm all right with that. Grant, are you looking, again, appreciate what you were able to share about potential uses. Are you looking for things, the one in particular that you mentioned that was in town, you're looking for uses that are similar size down to how small might something be in this area, in commercial development businesses?
The smaller pad users can be 2,500 or 3,000 square feet. I think the Starbucks in front of Walmart's 2,800 square feet. So that'd be about the smallest. There's a large furniture place that's 200,000 square feet that I've pestered about this over the years. So we're casting as wide a net as we can, and without getting too deep into the weeds, the retail in Northern Colorado has shifted from being, centric within the communities to now locating along the highways. That's where the bigger retailers want to go, because they've realized that, such a transportation mode, you can get from Wellington to Timnath or even Cheyenne to Timnath in pretty rapid time. So they want to locate along the highways, which is why what we're trying to propose here is to attract them. And I will again emphasize, working with this town has been great. My previous job, I worked on the project at Mulberry and LeMay with Walmart and Home Depot that took, years of our life off. And so we appreciate the town's cooperation working with us, and being able to have a conversation like this is great.
Last thing is, and I realize this is not within our purview, but if you're able to share it, is the extension of Weitzel a condition and paid for by the developer, or is it shared with the town, or is that town's responsibility?
Yeah, it was a condition of the entire annexation that we get the right of way and that they extend the road.
Oh, they're extending the road. then.
Correct.
Oh, okay. So that was originally, I thought, from something I heard at council, that was something the town was going to have to do.
Well, if they hadn't come forward with a development, the town, as you know, was between a rock and a hard spot, as Kevin and Matt had talked about with the frontage road going away. We had options. Fortunately, we didn't have to use any of those options, and then we have a development that extended the right of way.
That saved the town significant expense.
It was fortuitous.
Yes. Understand. Commissioners, Robert, I see your lights on. I think you got another question. Go ahead.
I said, just a real quick question while we're talking about who's footing the bill. When Weitzel eventually connects to County Road 5 there, I assume County Road 5 is still in the county, right? Or have
The majority of it.
A portion will be annexed to Timnath with this annexation.
the installation of, I assume eventually we'll need a traffic light there. Has that been discussed?
The traffic light would actually be down at Kechter.
Correct.
In County Road 5, not at Weitzel in County Road 5.
The traffic light, in terms of the traffic study, it's going to be warranted at Kechter much sooner. So I'm not saying that there isn't a traffic light in the future of Weitzel and County Road 5, but it's quite a ways down the road. No pun intended.
Lisa, another question.
Just real briefly, you said that retailers are looking for along the major thoroughfares. So that is that a recent trend, or is that just, and obviously you're basing so much of this off of that, which, I mean, it's a good thing. You've got property that they want.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 29 years ago, when I started in this business and you were looking at Northern Colorado, the only place you would look is go along College Avenue. So you'd go find a spot along College for your retailer. And you didn't look at Loveland, and you didn't look at Greeley, and 25 and 34 didn't exist. I mean, it existed, but it was a bunch of fields. So you didn't think about it. So, when McWhinney's did the outlet malls, it kind of changed the way people looked at it, but it was still kind of out there. But with Centera and 2534 and Walmart and Costco out on the highway, when the big retailers come looking at Northern Colorado now, they rarely go drive inside Fort Collins or go all the way inside Loveland. They don't look at Greeley. They want to be on the highway. So you see Shields has opened up on the highway. The power center that McWhinney did on the north side of 34, all the retailers now have figured out that people will travel up and down I-25, as far south as, Longmont. They'll come north if they need to. And so retailers are trying to figure out, spacing is a huge part of real estate. And the spacing now is turning into the highway, that people want to be along the highway. And, there is a significant amount of business that does come out of Wyoming. I don't know if the town has any way to track it, but if you go into Costco on a Saturday, there's, probably 10% of the plates are down out of Wyoming, and the retailers all know that thing. They're the ones causing the traffic problem.
I just think that's really good information for us to have as planners, to look at what's going to happen as you go east from here, knowing that retailers want to be in the places that you look at. Then it helps us from a big picture perspective look at what's going to happen going east.
And they are kind of sheep. I mean, I should come up with a better word for it, but they like to follow each other around. And Costco's success is on their radar. All you have to do is drive in that parking lot on a Tuesday afternoon. There's not a lot of parking spaces. And its success is what allowed Floor and Decor to look at this site and think they want to come here. So, and I think other retailers will, once we get Floor and Decor open and Weitzel is connected a year from today, hopefully, fingers crossed, right? Once it's in and installed, I'm looking at Sherry because she might have something to do with getting it done. So, Once it's open, I don't have anything to do with that. It's open. I think the retailers, when they come up there and they're driving up Whitesell and looking at the back of Floor and Decor in the back of Costco, and they can see the highway, we'll really get a lot of traction then. So.
Commissioners, other questions for Grant or staff? No. Okay, with that, we'll take item 6B first, Resolution 1, Series 2021. Do I have a motion to approve a resolution for annexations for property known as Connell to the town of Timnath, located south of Sweatsville Zoo Road and west of County Road 5?
So moved.
Have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Item 6C, zoning map amendment for the annexation of the property known as Connell to the town of Timnath. Do I have a motion to approve? A motion to approve second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. And item 6D, Ladera Plan Development Overlay Amendment. Do I have a motion to approve? We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Lisa made a motion to approve. Second, Eric. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you. Grant, Steve, Sherry, thank you. Reports, commissioners, anything?
Nothing for me.
I don't have anything.
I don't know if this is appropriate time, just ask a question relative to the reservoir and the water reduction. When do they start refilling that? And, or is this normal for it to be this low?
Yes and no. It's, we haven't had rain in a long time, so, or any measurable rain in a long time. So they're, calling for water and, continuing to drain. They will refill in the spring, I think.
Their water rate starts November 1st.
November 1st, yeah, November
So
1st.
it'll slowly start filling on November 1st.
If they have, yeah, if there's water to be brought into it. So there's also the ditch company is doing some mapping of the reservoir, and that could be part of why they're draining it a little bit more than what they normally would. But for the most part, this could be expected going forward, being in a drought or being in very low water years. So
Which ditch company owns the reservoir water?
New Cache Laputer Reservoir Company.
Okay, so it doesn't affect the town's water supply in any
This
way,
has
shape,
nothing
or
to do
form?
with the town. Yeah, no water. The town doesn't have any water. We have some water rights in there, but we don't have, this isn't domestic water or anything like that for the town.
Anything else? I guess I do have something. And I've said this to the other members of the town staff. I thought the ice cream social was terrific. That was exceeded only by the fall festival. I just thought, and I for one had doubts of moving out of Old Town, but I thought it was just terrific where it was. Very well done, to everybody who had a hand in that. I just had a great time there, and it looked like everybody else was enjoying it too. So please pass that along to any of the other staff. Well done. Anything else? Dawn, planners, anybody?
In the packet, you have the community development staff report. So we'll do that when it comes about. So it keeps you guys maybe in the loop on some things. We do provide that same report to the town council.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
It is
Appreciate that.
Yep.
Very helpful.
Anything else for the good of the order? Dawn?
We finished Busgrove, so it's got maybe 2 punch list items yet left to get taken care of, but for all intent and purpose, it's done.
Awesome.
Very good. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I would move to adjourn.
Was that a motion?
What's-
Was that a motion to adjourn? Do I have a
They're
second?
asking something over there.
Oh,
Oh, I was too. I kept looking, I'm like, that's 375 pages.
Fortunately, after the first 300, I just didn't have the heart to keep taking
Me
it.
either.
So, you know.
I
think
stopped
too
at
much
about
was spoiled,
250.
yeah.
You're ahead of me.
My scanning went a little faster and.
Now, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I will move to adjourn.
Thank you. I was wondering if you want to just stay here all night. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.